so let's take a look inside our kiln room. This is our glaze rack. This is where we put painted pieces that are ready to be glazed. Over here, that's our glazed tank. And here is the drying rack. This is where the glazed pieces go to dry until they can get loaded in the kiln. These are our kilns. We have 2 electric kilns. Here are stilts and kiln posts. That's what we use to load up the kiln. And then over here we have the bags of pieces that are fired and ready to be picked up by customers. Once your pottery is painted, we let it dry for 24 hours. After that, we dip it in our clear glaze and let it dry for another 24 hours. After that, it's ready to load into the kiln. Right now, I'll show you how we dip a piece into our clear glaze. Now that the glaze is all mixed up, I'll dip a piece. When I dip, I use these tongs. The reason I do that is so that I don't smear the paint when I dip them into the wet glaze. Then I shake, shake, shake to get all the excess glaze off. Once it stops dripping, I set it over here on the drying rack. And then I'm ready to glaze the next piece. You'll notice that our glaze is actually a mint color. That mint color is a dye that burns off in the kiln. It's only there to show us that we've covered the whole piece once we've dipped. Once all the pieces are glazed, they have to dry overnight. We have to make sure that all the water is out of the glaze. The reason for that is when you heat water, it boils, and boiling causes bubbles. So if we were to load your pieces before they were completely dry, it could cause bubbles in your glaze. We wouldn't want that. Once the piece is good and dry, it's ready to load into the kiln. The way we do that is we load it on a stilt. Notice the stilt has 3 small pointy prongs. That's the only thing touching the piece when we load it into the kiln. The reason we do that is because when the kiln heats up, it turns your glaze into melted glass, and it would stick to the shelf and you wouldn't be able to use it. So when you get your pottery back, turn it over, look on the bottom or the back, and see if you can find the 3 little stilt marks that the stilt leaves behind. Here's a look at the inside of our kiln. If you look close, you can see the heating elements. Those are just like the elements that are inside your toaster at home. If you've ever watched them when you make toast, you'll see that they glow bright red. Ours do the same thing, only our kiln gets a lot hotter than the toaster. Can anybody guess how hot we run our kiln? If you guessed 1800 degrees, you're correct. That's about 5 times as hot as when you bake cookies in your oven at home. Now that the kiln is down below 250 degrees, it's time to open it up and see everything that was fired. Now all of the paints are permanent, everything is nice and glossy, and everything is food safe. Once everything's cool, it's time to Dremel the piece. Remember those stilt marks that I told you about? Those are really sharp whenever we take the stilt off. So we use the Dremel tool to Dremel them down and make them nice and smooth so nobody cuts themselves. First thing I need to do is wear my eye protection. This is my Dremel tool. I turn it on, and then I just tap on each of the little stilt marks. Check to make sure it's all nice and smooth. Ready for somebody to take it home and enjoy it. We hope you enjoyed the tour of our kiln room. Thank you again for ordering your field trip kit, and have fun painting!